What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about something confusing, which is accident reporting for drones. And well, there is optional report, there's mandatory report. Some of them are mandatory for Part 107, some of them are not for recreational pilots. It's just a whole lot of confusion. So let's go into what you have to report, when you have to report it, how you have to report it, right in this video. Let's get to it. So you may say, well, what's the big deal about this? Well, the big deal is we hope that you never really have an accident, but you know what? Stuff happens. And when stuff happens, you need to know what you're supposed to report. And if you don't report, well, you can get in even more trouble, get a fine. If you have a Part 107 certificate, you could potentially lose your Part 107 certificate. So was there such a confusion? Well, I tell you, there's a confusion, and there is even a confusion for me, and I've been teaching this for a long time. There are several places where you can report accidents, where you have to report accidents. There's different types of requirements. There's different types of timelines where you have to report. What the heck is a NASA report? The heck is a ASRS report? So we're going to talk about all of this and try to remove all of this confusion. But first off, there's reporting for Part 107 pilots. There's some of that reporting that also applies to recreational pilots, and then there's also optional reporting. We're going to talk about all three of these. But the first one is the FAA reporting, because, well, we all report to the FAA in a way, right? Because they control all flights in the United States. Well, the FAA reporting is only contained in Part 107. If you're flying for recreational purposes, you're not following Part 107 regulation, you're following 44809 regulation, USC, the US code 44809. Under that, there is no real reporting requirement unless your CBO requires that there is a reporting requirement, okay? Remember, under 44809, you're supposed to follow CBO guidelines, CBO, community-based organizations. If that's the case, then you follow those. But let's talk about Part 107 FAA reporting. And what the FAA says is that you have to report to the FAA within 10 days any operation that involves at least the following: serious injury to any person or any loss of consciousness due to you flying your drone into someone possibly, or any damage to any property for which the cost of repair exceeds $500, which, by the way, does not include the cost of your drone. You hit into somebody's car and you break the windshield. Chances are that's going to cost more than $500 to repair, in which case that needs to be reported to the FAA within 10 calendar days. These are the simple requirements, okay? Serious injury to anyone, loss of consciousness, that needs to be reported to the FAA. How do you do it? You go on the FAA Drone Zone, FAAdronezone.faa.gov, or you go to the local Flight Standard District Office. When you're on the FAA Drone Zone, as you can see in the background here, you just go to the accident reporting section, you give them all of the information, and then you're all set. That meets the requirement right here for Part 107. In addition to this, there's also the NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, and they have a separate requirement. And you're going to say, what's the difference between the FAA and the NTSB? The NTSB only gets involved when there's an accident, okay? The FAA gets involved anytime you go fly. You talk to the NTSB when you crash something. And by the way, the NTSB doesn't do only flights. The NTSB takes care of if there's a train accident, okay? If there's a very large automobile or on-the-road accident, the NTSB is also going to get involved. Now, the requirement from the NTSB is this: you must report immediately, no 10 days here, immediately to the NTSB any of the following: an aircraft accident, we'll talk about that in a second; flight control system malfunction or failure, we'll talk about that as well in a minute; an in-flight fire, okay? Your battery catches on fire, the aircraft is on fire in flight, that's an in-flight fire right here. You need to report it. An aircraft collision in flight. If you collide with another aircraft in flight, you have to report it to the FAA. Damage to any property other than the aircraft that is estimated to exceed $25,000 in repair, okay? So in that case, that needs to be reported to the FAA. Now you're going to say, what in the world is an aircraft accident? Well, if we look in the regulation, Code of Federal Regulation, Title 14, 830.2, they define it as an occurrence where any person suffers death or serious injury. Death or serious injury. You're going to say, what is a serious injury? I'm glad you asked. In 8030.2, we have the definition. It's either an injury that requires hospitalization for more than 48 hours within 7 days of that injury being received. the fracture of any bones except fingers, toes, or your nose, anything that causes hemorrhages, nerve, muscle, or tendon damage, anything that involves an internal organ, and then anything that involves a second or third degree burn or a burn that affects more than 5% of the body's surface. Now you're gonna say this is a whole lot of government speak, and you're right. Take this, print it, put it on a card somewhere so you have it available as a reference. But when any of this happens, that needs to be reported to the NTSB, immediately. All right. Now you may ask, I mentioned flight control malfunction. What is a flight control malfunction? It says anything where you lose partial or complete control of the aircraft due to a hardware or software failure. Now I want you to pause for a second. This was designed for the manned aircraft world. I'm flying my aircraft, all of a sudden I turn left with the control yoke, nothing happens. That's a flight control malfunction. The NTSB wants to know about this because this is a big deal. Okay, flight control malfunction in flight is a really big deal because that can lead to somebody crashing the aircraft. A flight control malfunction is not any of the following: loss of control because of pilot error. You're flying your FPV quad, you hit into a wall. That is not a flight control malfunction. You're operating outside of the aircraft envelope. That is not a flight control malfunction. You get a lost link. That is also not a flight control malfunction. Now you're going to scratch your head and say, why in the world do we need to report this to the FAA or to the NTSB or the FAA for that matter? The NTSB is interested in looking at trends. They are interested in finding out that something has failed that could fail somewhere else in another aircraft, in which case they want to investigate and then they want to share that information with other people. Okay, I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, there was an issue with Piper aircraft where the way that the wing was attached to the fuselage was getting weak, was getting cracked. The NTSB heard of this, the FAA heard of this, they did some investigation, and then they came back and they said, well, this needs to be inspected. But the only way that this happens is because of reports like this, okay? So I don't want you to think about the NTSB as looking at finding when you make an error and you crash your drone into a wall. That's not the purpose here. The purpose is to find that something major has happened and that the NTSB wants to know about it because this is a safety issue, okay? Any loss of control of elevator, ailerons, rudders, and flaps, that is something the NTSB wants to know if you're flying a fixed-wing aircraft. Now, where do you report this? There's a link. I'm going to put it down here. It's on the ntsb.gov website. There's a full aviation report page. You can go in here, click on it, and it's going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Okay? So this right here is required for Part 107, also required for recreational pilots. Both of them are required to fill out these reports with the NTSB if something happens. The last report is an optional report. It's called a NASA report or it's called an ASRS report. ASRS, Aviation Safety Reporting System. Why is it called a NASA report? Well, because NASA collects it on behalf of the FAA. This is a third-party thing. NASA reports, collects the data, makes it anonymous, and then provides the result to the FAA. And they're acting as a third party, so the FAA doesn't have to collect that data and have access to the name of the pilot. So when NASA shares that information with the FAA, they remove all personable information. The reason is they want to share the report. The name of the pilot doesn't matter. The data collected by the report is what matters. So that's the way that it works the way it does, is because that data needs to be anonymized, and NASA does that because they're not linked to the FAA. Now this is optional, but highly recommended. This will allow a pilot or any other aviation professional for that matter, manned aircraft pilots, mechanics, unmanned aircraft pilots, they all have access to this. If they have a unintentional violation of regulation, you are getting close to an airport, you fly, you're looking down, all of a sudden you realize that you entered the airspace by mistake, okay? Stuff happens. NASA and the FAA says it's okay, just tell us that it happened, maybe we can learn something from it, and then we'll spread that information to other people if it happens a lot. So NASA is looking for trends using this report. You filing this report is sort of a get out of jail free card. If the FAA comes back and say, hey, we busted you, we know you entered the airspace, and you're gonna say, hey, listen, I submitted this is in a NASA report, I know I busted it, I didn't do it on purpose, and here's the report right here. Now, it has to be accidental. You cannot submit an ASRS report if you went into the airspace and busted it on purpose. The example I was always given in flight school was you're transporting drugs and you come back and you bust the airspace. You're going from our neighbors down in the south, you're collecting drugs, you bring it back across the border, and then you file an ASRS report and you said, hey, I filed a report, I'm not at fault right here. Well, guess what? This was not accidental. You busted the airspace and you busted the regulation on purpose. You're not covered, all right? And it also must not result in an accident. So it must be something that you did that, well, that didn't affect anybody else in a sense. Busting the airspace is the perfect example, especially for drone pilots. All right? So that's kind of a quick recap right here. FAA reports only for Part 107. NTSB report, everybody else. Recreational and Part 107, everybody has to submit one of those if the requirements are met. ASRS or NASA report, same thing. That's an optional thing for both Part 107 and recreational pilots, but highly recommended. How do you submit the ASRS report? You're going to go to the NASA link that we put down here. It's pretty lengthy, so make sure that you read it first. Give them as much information as you can. They'll be happy because they're collecting data and trend, and that's how we get this industry to be better. That's all I have for right now. Leave your comments down in here if you have any. Like, subscribe so we can do more of these videos for you guys, and then I'll see you for the next video.